Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me, as always, is my theoretical 10th, 9th emissary, Josh Finney.
Oh boy,
Josh.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, Josh. Why are we pulling some Kingdom Hearts bullshit right now? You can't call yourselves a 9 and have 10 people, just like Organization 13 can't have a 14th member, okay?
Just like Organization 13.
Gosh. Anyways, hi, Josh.
Hi, Corey.
Are you having a great week?
A little bit. It's been a very busy week, but it's been a good week overall.
Good.
Just trying to keep my head down and get some things done. Both game wise and just life wise, got a lot of things I'm trying to work on. We had some big stories come out this week, Corey. There's not a lot of Destiny. I'm gonna be honest. There's not a lot of Destiny stuff. We're still kind of in like circling mode. Like we're kind of in like reconnaissance mode, just waiting. We're about.
You mean you don't want to read about all the influencers getting ready to put?
So I wanted to talk about that real quick.
That was the whole twab.
I really hate that that's happening next week and that we didn't get news this week because we would have had stuff to talk about on this show.
I mean, we're about to do Xbox casuals next week, right before the showcase. So
six weeks out from the release of the Edge of Fate, and we have not seen any of those articles we were promised a month ago. That's a little frustrating.
Is it concerning?
I wouldn't say concerning, but it's clear that they want the influencers to deliver this message first, which doesn't really. I both like and dislike that, if I can be completely honest with you. In some regards, I actually think this is a really good idea from them to let folks like Aztecross and Datto, so the full list of people that we have that are going to be able to roll out previews and interviews at June 3rd at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's 11 Central, 12 Eastern. This is happening next Tuesday. Next Wednesday is my birthday, so this is a great early birthday present if it's good. I like most of the people that are here. The names that I'm familiar with that I like. Aztecross, Datto, Fallout Plays, Rick Kakis, Mactix, Walla, Milo is going to be there. PC Gamer is there. Scaro. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there are plenty of people that are going to be making really good content on this. And it's a variety of content creators too. Like having Walla there really makes me optimistic. Fingers crossed for some PvP news. But overall, I like this group. It's no surprise that Datto is going to be there. Fallout being there is not a surprise anymore. A little surprised that Milo's like gotten into Bungie's good graces so quickly, but he's been making content for zombies for years, and it's been ultra popular. He's brought his entire viewership over to Destiny now, so shout out him. It says here, if you're looking to enter without spoilers, now's the time to start going dark. I don't like that. I don't like that the implication is that there's going to be story spoilers out there, because that's the only way I could think of if you want people to go in dark. I don't think anybody cares about getting spoiled on loot, on armor 3.0, on gears here. I don't think we care about any of that, or even the destination. I don't like the implication that story stuff may be getting revealed. That is not cool to me. I think that but at the same time, Bungie probably also knows they got to have a hook to bring people in who said they were done after Final Shape. There's a lot of people who are just like, hey, I'm pretty happy if this is where I end Destiny at. So they say, here we go. So this is why I don't like the phrasing here. We've asked our friends to keep story spoilers to a minimum. Footage will include the first mission from the Edge of Fate and additional gameplay capture from Kepler. If you're itching to know about gear tiers, armor 3.0, the portal, hands-on previews and interviews will roll out June 3rd. I am most interested to see what's going to happen with gear tiers and portal. I'm going to be honest. Those of the three things here, those are the two things that are really like making me like, I need to see more of this. I was not impressed with what we saw of portal. I am not impressed with it so far. I like that there's a section for solo ops. I don't like how it's laid out. I think that it looks like a shitload of menus, and I think it's going to be even more confusing to onboard players. I think
that's one thing they're great at is onboarding new players.
Holy shit. I got real marathon vibes from it, which I didn't like. So
did they steal it from somewhere?
Probably. Here we go. We have no doubts. Questions will pop up soon after this wave of content is live. We're excited to say this is just the start of the conversation. Each TWID from now through launch will be looking to address questions, expand context, or tease further changes coming to D2. Not only that, we have a few more info drops planned before launch. Upcoming live streams, June 24th and July 1st, both at 10 a.m. Pacific, obviously noon Central, and 1 p.m. Eastern. We mentioned during our initial reveal event, there's quite a lot of change coming to Destiny 2, system overhauls, new loot, challenges, and more. We're excited to share what we've been working on since Final Shape. So I'm going to pull my calendar up because I want to see what we're looking at here in terms of June. All right. Come on. Jesus Christ. There we go. Fuck. So June 24th is the last Tuesday of the month, and obviously July 1st is the first of the next month. If our schedule goes according to plan, we will have an episode there on the 26th. That will be our last one of the month. I don't particularly want to wait until the 10th, though, to talk about whatever they reveal on the 1st. That is a holiday weekend the next week, but maybe in lieu of doing an Xbox Casuals, we'll just because after showcases is always really rough. You guys might just get a few weeks of Tower Casuals. We're going to have plenty of info by then. We're going to be heading straight into the expansion there on the 15th.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out what we're going to do. But between that, the raid coming out, all the changes coming, I feel like we're going to finally have a ton of Destiny content to get to. So you may get Destiny with a side of Xbox Casuals in your Destiny pods for a while.
Yeah.
We said when we first went to this system last October, we were going to be pretty flexible. This is kind of what we were waiting for, is stuff like this. When there's just shitloads of content, guess what? You're going to get a lot of content. Mm-hmm. When there's not a lot of content, like Revenant and Heresy has kind of been here the back half, and it's going to be a lot more sparse. Tonight, we don't have a lot of Destiny to talk about. I do want to talk about my experience in Ghosts of the Deep Ultimatum. I do want to talk about some of the loot, but other than that, there's not a whole lot to talk about. We had a great lore question that I want to get to. We have a question about Naughty Dog, and that's going to be part of a bigger conversation about Sony as a whole that I've been wanting to have for a little while, and this is kind of the show to do it on. So yeah, it's just we're kind of going with the flow right now. But overall, if that's when we're going to do live streams, I like the idea of doing live streams. I do hope that there's still some standalone articles because we were told there are going to be standalone articles. There's not a lot of time left to put these out with a major holiday weekend coming up 2 weeks before launch, week and a half before. There has been rumor about, and I trust both of the people who have been pushing this rumor, Jeff Grubb and Nate the Hate they're both very credible when it comes to this kind of stuff. They've both said that there is going to be a state of play in June, that there is not going to be a PlayStation Presents. I assume we're going to get another trailer for the Final Shape there, probably another story, or not Final Shape, God, for Edge of Fate. I'm going to have to stop saying Final Shape. I've been saying it for 2 years. For the Edge of Fate, I assume we're going to get another trailer for it, maybe a tease of some of the seasonal content coming, perhaps. That is something I expect to see. We don't know when this is going to be. I don't think it's going to be this coming week. This coming week is very, very, very busy with in the 3 out of 4 days we have stuff, because on the 5th you have the drop of the Switch 2. On the 6th you have Summer Game Fest, which PlayStation is going to be at. That could be where we see a trailer, honestly. That would be a great way to cap off a week of preview coverage.
Yeah, it's crazy. PlayStation and Nintendo are both going to be there.
PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox all confirmed to be partners. I cannot remember the last time we saw all three. I don't think we've ever had all three.
Probably at the Game Awards when Reggie and Phil and Sean Layden were all standing on stage together.
I was specifically talking just Summer Game Fest in general. I think 2020 is the only time that we got all three participating because nobody knew what was going on with COVID.
Right.
So that's
E3 was canceled, and then
to me that's pretty big. Nintendo was not going to sit this out. That's 24 hours after their launch. They're going to have more online orders going up that morning at both Best Buy and Target. So I expect that we get, even if it's just, oh, hey, here's some more classics coming to Nintendo Switch, to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Sony, I could see them wanting to keep like maybe Destiny or Bungie away from their showcase at this point, just because of the brand toxicity. Not that Destiny is toxic, but Bungie as a whole. I could see them maybe doing that. Of course, it's probably just going to be a remastered they're going to announce there at this point. And then Microsoft has their big show on Sunday, on the 8th. So, and we expect there to be a Nintendo Direct that coming week as well. Xbox will do their showcase extended. We expect there to be a Nintendo presentation that week as well. So I would say the state of play, probably, they like to do these on Tuesdays or Thursdays. I would be looking at the 10th or 12th for a PlayStation showcase.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very, very busy first half of June coming up. It's not E3, but it feels like it in terms of how we're getting the news.
Right.
Other things. I'm scrolling through the TWABs real quick. There is something I want to address in this week's TWAB, but I want to give it its own moment. I guess we'll go ahead and do that now, actually. Very, very cool thing. Available June 3rd through July 1st, 2025. Destiny 2 players will have access to our brand new Pride Shader Pack. Bold, joyful shades inspired by the diversity and vibrance of the LGBTQIA plus community. Pride Shader Pack is an opportunity to make a real-world impact. While available in-game, every purchase of the Pride Shader Pack for 800 silver, $5.50 will be donated to Advocates for Trans Equality Education Fund, an organization that works to advance the rights and well-being of transgender people through education, public awareness, and community-based advocacy. In shader names, Indivisible, Boundless, 10th Muse, and True Self. I will be buying this. I think it's a very good cause. That 800 silver is not a lot to donate to charity. Almost the entire cost of that is getting donated. I'm perfectly okay with this. I like this.
Yeah.
Of course, Pride Month, the Pride collectible pin is back with the Infinite Prismatic Emblem. $7 is donated with each pin purchased to It Gets Better, a nonprofit organization that strives to uplift, empower, and connect LGBTQ youth around the globe. And the Infinite Prismatic Emblem will also be available with a $10 donation through the Bungie Foundation, with all net proceeds supporting IGB. So if you do not want an actual pin, I love these pins when they make them. I think they're really cool. I think they're really beautiful. And beyond that, all allies can show their support for the LGBTQIA plus community with a brand new free shader, Prismatic Expanse. That is redeemable now. It will say you're redeeming an emblem, but it is a shader, and you can pick the shader up from the special deliveries kiosk in the tower once you redeem the code. The code is D6T, as in Travis, 3JRCKX. And this is it's a pretty cool looking shader. I like this. It's on a hunter here in the image. I think this looks cool. So always appreciate seeing things like that. Of course, Bungie has long been at the forefront of social justice, so we love seeing this. We love seeing all communities represented through Bungie games.
Yes, we do.
Moving into, well, I guess let's talk about Rite of the Nine. It's been a couple weeks since we last talked Rite of the Nine. Last time we talked, we were still in Spire of the Watcher. Ghost of the Deep, the one that most of us, I think, were dreading, ended up not being that bad. I was actually really surprised at how smooth my Ultimatum run went when I did it last week. I did it last Wednesday, I want to say, is when I ran it. Surprisingly pretty calm. I think it took us a little over 2 hours to get first clear. Breeze through first encounter. I fucked up second a lot. It is really, if you are not the one running in that encounter and you are a hunter, it is a challenge. It is a challenge to stay alive in that room. But and on top of that, it wasn't just, we're trying to clear. It was, we were trying to clear and get gold at the same time. So when you're not trying to get gold, a little bit easier. Not going to lie, a little bit easier. So Got through that final once we stopped fucking around. Got it on the first try. Really enjoyed it though. Definitely a challenge. I do love the changes they've made in this dungeon though. Having the keys you need to open the door in the first encounter only be 3 instead of 4 rotations. So much better. And then making the shield just about instantly droppable in final encounter made that just chef's kiss. So much better. Adding little combat encounters in the underwater parts, in the little in-between sections for extra loot. Really like that. Very similar to how Spire got that in the opening area. There was a Spire chest. So enjoying that. And yeah, just I think this is the definitive version of the dungeon. It's going to be really hard to go back and want to do the original version of the dungeon after this. I feel the same way about the changes in Spire. These are the definitive versions now, and they need to be kept going forward. So definitely a challenge though. Like if you're trying to get gold on Ultimatum, definitely a challenge. This week's Eternity modifier, Braun. Jesus Christ. Like last week's mod was just on Ultimatum was chafe. I'll 100% take you turning off my radar instead of something like fucking attrition that we had the second week of Spire. That was awful. Braun is almost in that category though, man, of your health doesn't regen. And heal clip doesn't do a lot for you, honestly. Heal clip, heal grenades, they don't do a ton for you, unfortunately. That was a little frustrating in the second encounter specifically. Everything else was fine. That second encounter got a little rough, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, overall, I do really like the changes they made. I'm so excited for Prophecy. Prophecy is the one that I got to play ahead of time, and I loved the changes to Prophecy, including the invincible Minotaurs in the in-between area until you, like, do all 3 taken areas, and then you can finally kill those giant guys. I like that change. And I also like a little twist that's going to be in the cube room that I don't know if I've said it on this show. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I really like the twist in the cube room. I think some of y'all are going to just go absolutely ape shit when you see it in Ultimatum mode, especially. I'm really scared that the first week of it is going to be attrition. If it's attrition, I'm sitting it out until the next week. I'm not going to lie. They seem to like to put those modifiers on, though, when it's double loot drops for whatever reason. And the extra loot drops are for real. Like, I'm just getting weapons dropped from killing random enemies, let alone the chests at the end. So I was drowning in them. Still going to be chasing a couple shinies, but I've been very fortunate with some of mine. I wish that more of them were adept shinies and not just normal ones.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, we take what we can get. I think this has been a blast so far. I definitely think the loot has been, especially once they changed it, has been very generous, which is, of course, a great feeling. It's a looter shooter, man. We're here for it. I wanted to pull up my dim real fast to talk about some of the weapon drops that I have gotten in this week's runs. Is this the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. So I got a No Survivors Adept, Shiny Adept, which had not really been on my radar as one I was going to pick up, honestly. But, man, it's really hard to argue with this roll with Ricochet rounds, Heal Clip, and Target Lock. And then my second perks on that, respectfully, are Rewind rounds and Zen Moment. The only thing that can make it better is if Incandescent was there somewhere. But that's a 4 out of 5 for me. That's pretty easily just getting locked and put in the vault, just in case I don't get a better Incandescent roll, because man, that's awesome. I did get one with Incandescent, and it had Ricochet and Flared Magwell on it, both of which I like on just about any gun. But with Surplus and Demolitionist is not bad, but getting Surplus for the other one, did not love that specifically. So I will be chasing more No Survivors, definitely going forward. Another one that I've shockingly gotten some pretty fun rolls on is Greasy Luck. Now, I'm not here to tell you that Greasy Luck is by any stretch of the imagination a good weapon. It's not bad, but like I think there are better solar glaives. This one's making a pretty strong case. I'm not gonna lie. I'm somebody who really likes to shoot my glaive. And not just melee with it. I think heel clip is really funny to put on this glaive. I don't think it's like meta by any stretch of the imagination, but it's really fun. Same with I like close to melee on it. I've got that on a roll that I was having some fun with. I think the ideal ones that you want probably are close to melee and melee momentum. Honestly, that's probably what you want. So overall, just it's fun to play with. A Greasy Luck like actually is something beyond just a novelty now. But yeah, and then I got another one that had replenishing Aegis, melee momentum, unstoppable force, and close to melee. And as an adept drop, does not unfortunately, it's not the shiny adept though, man. I've gotten caught by the shiny chase for the second year in a row. It's really grinding my gears. I need it. I need it, Corey. I don't know if you understand this about me. I need the shinies.
I know you do.
I'm having a blast though. I really have been having a lot of fun going in, even if it's just farming out some currency. Having a lot of fun in there. That's a couple of weapons that we've been enjoying. Do I even have one? I think I've been so upset with all my rolls of New Pacific Epitaph that I've just gotten rid of it across the board. I have not been happy with any of my rolls on that gun. I keep getting the same combo and it's not making me happy. I'm very upset. I did save one. I saved the shiny. I'm pretty sure it's a shiny you get from the quest, but got Rhyme Stealer, Kill Clip, Recycled Energy, and Adrenaline Junkie. I definitely don't think that that's bad. You can do better, but for right now, that one will work. I do like Pacific Epitaph. It's a stasis waveframe, which I think makes it unique. But damn, it's just so depressing. I just keep getting I literally think I have gotten the same Envious Arsenal Adrenaline Junkie roll like 7 times when that gun has dropped for me. So I'm kind of riding that one out right now, waiting to see if I get another one. It's been really hard for me to put down Lost Signal this year. Stasis, we have Wither Horde at home. I've been using that one an awful lot. I lied. I forget that they have different icons. I do have a couple in here. I thought I had kept some of these. So Rhyme Stealer, Chain Reaction, Sword Logic, Recycled Energy. I do like that. Especially Chain Reaction. I like the idea of Chain Reaction on a stasis waveframe. I think that just sounds really wacky. And then I did actually get one of the rolls, which is Kill Clip Unrelenting. I think that one's fun with high velo rounds. I think that's cool. And then the one that I'm really wanting Redirection in that second slot. I've yet to get one that I really like with that on it, obviously. But I think if I could get that with Rhyme Stealer, I'd be pretty happy. I think that could be really fun.
It could be fun.
And last but certainly not the least, my old favorite, Cold Comfort. I've loved this rocket launcher for a very, very, very long time. And oh boy, is it here, Corey?
Oh boy, it's here.
Boy.
You heard him here. You heard it here first, folks.
I did get one of the adepts that I was looking for. I did get it with the impact casing, reconstruction, and chill clip on it. Very, very, very happy about that one. Another one that I got, Impulse Bait and Switch. That's always a good one with the implosion rounds and the hard launch. That's an old favorite. Reconstruction Bait and Switch. I said Impulse. Reconstruction Bait and Switch. That one's going to be interesting. Less thrilled by Rhyme Stealer Explosive Light on this one. I don't really like Rhyme Stealer on heavy weapons unless it's an LMG. And then getting Elemental Honing is interesting to me, which is dealing unique elemental damage, grants this weapon a stacking damage bonus. I like that, but I'm way more interested in it on kinetic weapons. There is a bonus to it on kinetic. Uh, I think that's about it in terms of like roles that I'm even remotely interested in that I've gotten a drop on it. So overall, I mean, and that's just what's still in my vault or inventory of those weapons. So it's been great so far. I'm really enjoying the cadence at which the loot is dropping. I don't love the focusing of it all. I've even said that I feel like because we're getting so many weapons that just dismantling them should give you like 20 to 30 currency towards buying a new role. You have to get 250 to do it. So it'd be like, oh, dismantling 10 weapons gets you a new one. I feel like you could even like so that people aren't abusing it, you know, maybe you keep it at that. But
yeah,
I'm really liking this event overall. I don't know if I like it better than Pantheon yet. I've been kind of on the fence regarding it because man, Pantheon was so fucking cool. Pantheon was absolutely so fucking
yeah.
I can't get over how much I really loved Pantheon.
I mean, Pantheon's such a cool idea. It's just, it feels like they executed it pretty well. So
yeah, I've absolutely been I've spent all year raving about it. I don't know how you top Pantheon. I think Rite 9 is really cool, and it's clearly an event designed to get people who don't do the end game invested in the end game. Like having the exploration mode is fantastic. It's also great for your solo flawless practice attempts. I really do like that about it too. But this has been a good solid event. I just wish that the double weapon drops had been there from the beginning and that everything wasn't time gated. I think 1 week for each dungeon and then everything's open would have been totally fine. Which is how I think a lot of us felt that it was going to go.
yeah.
So still not a huge fan of how they're rolling it out. I'm still going to complain about it. Y'all just kind of got to deal with it. But the upcoming schedule for this, Prophecy, it will be the featured dungeon from June 3rd to June 17th. Increased rewards and weapon drops from enemies will happen the second week, the week of June 10th. June 17th to June 24th, all dungeons will be able to play at any time and any difficulty. The week of June 17th, increased currency drops active for all dungeons. I do like that. I will be farming the shit out of the first encounter of Spire and the first encounter of probably Prophecy and Ghost. Like all three of them are just very easily farmable encounters. You can even farm that second encounter in Spire if you're feeling frisky with the giant Vex Harpy from Goss. You know, you could go do that. I do look forward to seeing what the mods are going to be that week because I imagine it's going to be terrible. From June 24th to July 8th, all dungeons are available, and one will have increased currency rewards each week. Week of 17th, I don't know if I like this. So I feel like they definitely got the dates wrong on this, I feel, because it doesn't make any sense. But it says week of 17th, Spire of the Watcher, 24th, Ghosts, July 1st, Prophecy. And then here we go. July 8th, July 15th, Lootapalooza. Increased currency rewards and weapon drops from all enemies and all dungeons. We will turn on a new way to spend your non-ary manifold currency. I'm just calling them dungeon bucks because I'm not saying that every time. They're dungeon bucks. The spoils of conquest are raid bucks. These are dungeon bucks, man. Like,
jeez.
Last year I called them Shaxx bucks. Okay, like listen, I'm a simple man trying to make my way in the universe. Okay. It's rough out here, man. Okay, but increased currency rewards and weapon drops from all enemies. New way to spend your currency, no matter if you play on Explore, Eternity, or Ultimatum. We hope you're having a great time and you're getting the roles you're aiming for. Don't forget to attune before jumping into the dungeon. Prophecy is the one I really care about. I really like the 4 weapons being planned for Prophecy. There is the Prophecy Shoddy, there is the Judgment Hand Cannon, there is the auto rifle, and there is the pulse. I think Judgment is the hand cannon. It might be the auto. Dude, I've slept so much since the last time I did a full run of Prophecy. But I'm very excited for the pulse and the auto. Those are the 2 that I'm specifically going in the chase. I don't know if you guys know this about me. I love a good pulse rifle. It's a strand pulse, so I'm very excited. I think I've gotten like one roll of it ever. So very, very, very happy to go in and farm both of those weapons out. Other than that, I think Cold Comfort is the one I see everybody chasing right now. And with good reason. We're all chasing it for the next time a Pantheon level event comes around. Because I cannot tell you how clutch Chill Clip was last year with Galley. Only one person gets the extra damage from the Chill Clip burst these days, but still everyone else is doing extra damage while that target is frozen naturally. So I'm really excited. I want to see what this Ludapalooza is actually going to be. I'm scared to wait until that week for like all my drops. So I'll be playing intermittently over the next 6 weeks, but I do plan on taking most of June off from Destiny once I get my title. I kind of plan on just chilling and picking up maybe the weapon quest each week, running and doing that on Explorer, and then just being done.
Yeah, that's probably smart.
With the intention of getting my title. There is a dungeon gauntlet coming, apparently, from the data mined triumphs. We don't know quite yet what that entails. I would imagine it's just doing all 3 in a row. I don't think it's going to be you have to get gold on Ultimatum on all 3. I think it's going to be doing it's probably going to be doing all 3 in a row on Ultimatum would be my guess. But I'm not quite sure. It's already very clear you have to get 9 out of the 10 triumphs done to get the title. I think that's so that it's designed to let you skip gold on Ghosts of the Deep if you just can't get it done, essentially.
Yeah.
So I do really I like the structure of this event. I like that they've tied it into the storyline instead of Pantheon, which was just kind of there because it was thrown together, right? Like Into the Light, that overall they tied into the storyline, but not Pantheon. Pantheon didn't really like make sense. I like the idea of like the 9 are testing us through former encounters. That makes a lot more sense, and that'll make a lot more sense now when we get Pantheon 2.0 next year. So overall, been a fun event. Very, very interested to see if there's any changes to the final boss in Prophecy. I, of course, did not make it to the final boss. I got stuck at the friendship door. So we will see what happens there.
Sorry you didn't make it to the friendship door, Josh.
It's okay. It's just really frustrating. So,
Josh leaves his doors open for friendship.
I do. I've also just started calling like every door I can't get past the friendship door. It started with Salvation's Edge, and it's just continued. Every enemy that chases me around and is invincible is called Kevin. Also,
no,
I did not. That's a term coined by our beloved dealer, Kevin. It started with the invincible copies that would chase us in Vesper's Host, and it's just carried over to everything. So we just call everything Kevin.
Not Trevor 2.0.
Mm-hmm. They did say in last week's, and I want to say this because this is the only thing that I think we missed or that we didn't get a chance to talk about last week, obviously. We saw last week saw Fire Team set a great speedrun par time for Ultimatum Spire the Watcher, as well as a Guardian completing the activity solo flawlessly. When seeing these awesome achievements, we thought it could be fun to issue a small challenge. We feature movies, artists, and fashion and Schwabs. How about we shine the spotlight on speedrunners? Their response was fun, and we're very happy so many teams pushed themselves to beat the mark. Congrats to everyone who was a part of it. Right after we announced what we thought was a small and simple challenge, we got many questions about what's allowed, what's not, how the emblem will be rewarded, when, and many others. We want to come up with a very clear Bungie speedrun challenge format with set rules for everyone to follow that's fair and fun. We've started brainstorming on future opportunities after the Edge of Fate launches. That's awesome. They've needed to recognize the speedrunning community for so long, outside of just like, oh yeah, here's Eager Edge, and yeah, you can well skate, sure, you can shatter skate, sure. Like beyond that, they needed to do something else. So I really like this. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So big fan of that. If you did not get the Slammer last week, I'm sorry, but your last chance to earn the Adept Slammer is gone. So I hope you got the rolls you wanted. I'm glad I went and grinded it out earlier this season. All right. Let's have the uncomfortable Sony conversation that we need to have.
Here we go.
Here we go, he says. I'm not going to bother going over the plagiarism and stolen art accusations again. We talked about it on the last Tower Casuals. We talked about it last week on Xbox Casuals. There's no point in us hashing this out a third time with no new information this week. The only thing that we've really heard that is new, this came from Colin Moriarty on Sacred Symbols, and I kind of question that a little bit. Not that I like question, journalistic integrity or anything, but so I don't think Colin has a single clue what's going on inside Bungie, frankly. I just don't know. He said he was told by somebody who's familiar with the marketing, apparently, that the marketing for Marathon has been like completely canceled. It was supposed to roll out next month.
It was Sony marketing, apparently, over in Sony Europe. Whatever.
Yeah, I tend to believe that a little bit more, but still, like, okay, this is just kind of like more of what we've heard overall from like Destin Legary and from Paul Tassi. Paul,
yeah.
for all the shit that I give Paul has been on top of this whole story. So
yeah, he's apparently he's gonna have Destin Legary on an interview soon to talk about all this, because he kind of admitted that he doesn't really know anything about what's going on at Bungie. But
Tassi did?
No, Colin did.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Colin is going to have Destin on.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because the co-host on Sacred Symbols is like a huge Bungie person.
Is it still Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they were talking about it, and they said that they were going to do like a Sacred Symbols Plus about it, and he's going to bring Destin on, because Destin, and maybe Cog on there, because
got you.
Destin definitely knows that area more than they do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Destin had personal friends who were working there pre-lab in the company too. So
yeah.
I do want to read the exact quote from Colin that made me want to talk about this. I know he has said other stuff after this, but this was the exact quote that he said. I was told by somebody familiar with marketing plans in a key overseas market that there are now no plans to do paid marketing for Marathon at all. I don't know if those plans were affected by what has recently happened, or if that was always the plan, or whatever, but it is considered a fairly unusual move for a game of this high profile. It was estimated by Circana last week by Matt Piscatella, who, if we're talking sales numbers, that's the only person you should ever listen to for sales numbers. Let's be honest. He is the guy who publishes the sales numbers. That's what Circana does. He said that in order for Marathon to be profitable, it would have to be in the top 5 selling games of the entire year.
And let's be honest, it's not going to be that.
It's not going to be in that. That is insane. And I assume that's before marketing costs.
So
that's wild.
Yeah. So right after he said that, I guess PlayStation put out some sort of something earlier this week that has Marathon in it with the release date still in it. So
that feels like damage control to me.
Yeah. But it was like a montage of PlayStation games, right? And Marathon was just in it. So I don't know if this was like a pre-scheduled thing, or I don't know. But yeah, I mean, damage control, Sony has to like show Marathon, I feel like, because if they don't at this point, there's going to be a lot more questions, I feel like. So even though there's already a lot of questions.
The follow-up from Collins says, me talking about immediately known plans in a single territory doesn't equate to Sony's canceled all its paid marketing for Marathon. Maybe they have. I have no idea. It actually wouldn't surprise me. The game is clearly in enormous peril and should be delayed, but that's not what I said, and that's not what I reported. There's a big difference. I personally don't think it's too much to ask when one uses our content. What was actually said is relayed, quote, spirit, context, and nothing more. I mean, listen, there are a few people out there that I feel have an insight to, and I do think that having an insight to Sony is different than having an insight to Bungie. Those are two separate things at this point to me. As far as when we talk about people who have sources inside Sony, hilariously enough, it's Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty. It's those two guys. Like, there's a reason why they were the PlayStation guys for 20 years. They have sources inside Sony. Very clearly
still are.
I mean, I don't even think it's arguable. I don't think there is a single soul on this planet that comes closer to those two than having access inside Sony. I think Collins has probably waned a little bit in recent years.
Yeah.
Greg absolutely still does. That being said, I absolutely think that Colin would not be saying this if he hadn't actually heard it. So Colin's not going to go burn the bridges he has at Sony without being able to confirm this.
Mm-hmm.
That's my takeaway from this. And for people who are out there being like, well, name the source then, I fucking hate those people because you can't do that. That's not how journalism works. I hate to break it to you.
You say
that's how clout chasing works, not journalism.
Yeah, you say those things in confidence, right? Like,
you ask for it. If you want to name the person, you ask if they will be willing to go on the record. Nobody in the history of video games would go on the record talking about this catastrophe right now.
Yeah.
So that being said, Marathon and Bungie are pretty clearly in trouble. We've heard for a couple years now that Marathon has to be a slam dunk to kind of save the studio and save their autonomy. It's pretty clear that's gone. I think it is just a matter of time, especially I think the story that both Jason Schreier and Paul Tassi put out stories after the layoffs last year about how they were trying to force this game out this year so that the executives could basically grab their bonuses, cut bait, and run. I think Sony is going to step in, and I do think this game is getting delayed. I want to be abundantly clear.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is getting delayed. I said last week on Xbox Casuals, I wouldn't be surprised to see this game delayed and see maybe Destiny go back a couple of weeks in order to, give Edge of Fate a little bit more polish, or even see it take that release date. Them doing back-to-back live streams on the 24th and the 1st, though, pretty much confirms to me, and them doing a preview event that's going to go live next Tuesday, they're not pushing this. This is coming out. They have July mostly to themselves right now.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of a big release. Especially with GTA now getting pushed, now they don't have to worry about Renegades getting trampled in December.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see, but I think it's clear as day that whether Marathon is delayed or not, Sony is going to do some drastic restructuring, because this is the second year in a row now where a live service game has turned into a catastrophe for them. Now, do I think Marathon is going to be a Concord level flop? No, but they have sunk so much money into this game now. Remember, Marathon was part of the reason that they bought Bungie.
Mm-hmm.
The elevator pitch and the early stuff they had seen from Marathon is what made them want to buy Bungie.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you do now? Because you were sold this grand idea. Destiny obviously stumbled with Lightfall and with some of the seasonal stuff, but obviously Witch Queen came out right after they announced the purchase of the company. They had to be thrilled with what they saw out of that. They had to be very happy with the reception they saw for Into the Light, for the season leading into Lightfall. Also, I forget what that's called, the Seraph. They had to be really happy with some of that seasonal content with, Witch and Seraph and whatnot. So,
yep.
But then you have Lightfall. And Lightfall is the thing that sticks out to me. And then you look at the episodes that you've had since the Final Shape. Final Shape, universally, the best received Destiny thing, best reviewed thing I think that they've ever done.
Yeah.
And then you have Echoes and Revenant. I think Heresy has definitely built up some of that trust again. And I think Rite of the Nine is a good event, even though it's horrendously time-gated.
Mm-hmm.
You actually can't finish this seal, presumably, until 2 weeks before the end of the event, which is just batshit to me in today's day and age. But Sony has to be looking at this going, okay, so Destiny kind of getting back on track, but that team's been so trimmed down, and probably at half of the strength that it was post Lightfall, between 2 giant rounds of layoffs, and then beyond the layoffs, the departures of key executives like Joe Blackburn. Mm-hmm. Joe Blackburn left. Julia Nardin moved over to Marathon.
He's in the hospital, by the way. Did you see that?
I did see that, unfortunately. Yeah. Best wishes to brother Joe.
Yeah. No joke about a ruptured appendix.
No, definitely not. That'll kill you. So I think Sony is preparing to mitigate the losses on Marathon. We said last week the game may still release in September because Sony has deemed that it's not worth saving. And, hey, there's nothing that says that if a game release is busted that it can't be fixed over time. The question is, will Sony have the patience and will they be willing to sink the money into it? Those are two key questions. They don't really have the money to stand around and sink in like Microsoft did with Sea of Thieves or like they did with Halo Infinite. They don't have the ability to do that monetarily.
Yeah.
So it just makes me very curious to see where we're going to go with all that. And I think it kind of paints a picture of Sony's broader portfolio. Jade Raymond left Haven a week or two ago. And I mean, tell me where you've heard this story before. Jade Raymond forms a new studio or a team and then leaves 3 years later. That's happened multiple times in the last 15 years, by the way, including Stadia and EA Motive.
Yeah, I didn't realize this. So, the last game she was credited on was Far Cry 4.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's wild. She became an executive after that. So
yeah,
from what was getting reported about Fair Games in wake of that, they've completely rebanded it. They've dropped the $sign on the end of Fair Games to just
Thank
being
God.
a normal S. Yeah, it was too edgelordy, I think. But apparently Sony is not happy with the playtests that have happened for it. Closed playtests, closed alphas. Like, the game is apparently really clunky and just not fun, straight up. They pushed it from coming out this fall to sometime next year. That would be a game I'd kind of be shocked if we ever saw the light of day at this point. But Sony has pretty clearly pulled back on its live service initiative, and I don't know what that means for Bungie. It could mean, hey, this is better for Bungie because they're going to be the one real studio working on this kind of stuff.
Right.
But over the last couple of years, we've seen about 10 live service games get canceled from them. The only ones that I know for a fact that are still in development beyond Marathon and continuing support for Destiny are the two Horizon multiplayer games. One multiplayer, one MMO. And that's about Fair Games. Fair Games is still happening, and now there's Gummy Bears, which spun out of Bungie. And I believe there is the former head of Deviation has been handed a new studio. So we'll see if this game even gets to get into the alpha stage before it gets canceled. Because they pulled the rug out from under Deviation before too.
Yeah, guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out, but it signals a very interesting pivot from what Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst were trying to do just 2-3 years ago.
Right.
Into, hey, we can't do this. We got to focus on what we do good. And we've covered this on other shows before. Sony historically has just not been a multiplayer studio. They've never been a multiplayer publisher. I mean, that has always been the thing that's eluded them, is good multiplayer.
And it's funny because the games they don't really try on are the ones that do the best. Like Helldivers. I mean, even like during the PS3, like Uncharted and The Last of Us multiplayer, like those were like,
they got cult followings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Back in the era that I like to dub that everything needed multiplayer for whatever reason, we went through a whole saga with several games.
Oh yeah, I remember online passes.
I remember online passes. It's funny because like I think their multiplayer has been like fine. It's never been amazing. But once Killzone wasn't the Halo killer that was promised, that was kind of it.
Yeah.
I think SOCOM always had its audience, and admittedly for early online console games was a good experience. But once things like Call of Duty started coming out and were just obviously leaps and bounds better than anything that Sony was putting out, I think they were correct to pull back on that and really focus on single, especially after I think the success of The Last of Us and the Uncharted trilogy, really Naughty Dog as a whole, emboldened them to go strictly story game for the PS4, which was a smart idea. They continued that into the PS5, but man, look at how much they've tried with live service. Destruction All-Stars was a thing. You remember that?
I do.
Destruction All-Stars was a thing. They tried that. We've talked about Concord at length on this show. We've seen, but we've also seen the success of things like Helldivers. So, and they won't even have the next game from that studio as a published title. Arrowhead is completely self-funding their next game after Helldivers. I'm curious to see if it'll have the same following that Helldivers 2 got.
Yeah, that's going to be really
It's gonna be fascinating to watch. I can't wait.
look,
And I do not mean that disrespectfully. I'm genuinely very interested to see what they do next.
yeah. I hope it goes well for them. I I don't really know what else to say about them, but just I hope it goes well.
There's not a lot to say. So that leads me to a question that we got from the one and the only Jiggly Panda. What do you guys think is the other game being worked on over at Naughty Dog? I personally would love a new Jack and Daxter. So we're getting to this because we're kind of wondering what they have in the works beyond Ghost of Yotei, Helios, and Intergalactic, like overall. Those are the three things that we know for sure they have in development beyond like the Bungie stuff, obviously, and Fair Games. So what else? Like what else do we think is coming from Naughty Dog specifically? Corey, you and I both have different takes on this one.
We do, and I think. I mean, I think the other game is The Last of Us Part 3 because we also have different takes on the ending of Last of Us Part 2 and how you think it should end there, and I think the second one warrants a sequel more than the first one did.
I don't think either one warrants a sequel if we're being completely.
I mean, I don't either, but it's more likely that 2 would get a sequel than 3. Also, like the TV show is successful, so like you're gonna want to have another product to put out at some point. But regardless, like I think they're working on The Last of Us Part 3 because I think one of your answers, Josh, Uncharted, the next Uncharted is being worked on at another studio.
So there were rumors a couple of years ago that a new Uncharted game was being developed by Sony Bend and by the cleanup team at Sony, for lack of a better word.
The unnamed art development team.
Yeah, the like RAD team, essentially. Their research and development team, that those two were kind of collaborating. They were pulling some people from Sony San Diego. It was kind of like a collaborative effort. That supposedly fell apart 2 years ago when the whole live service bonanza started happening. I think the Naughty Dog stepped in and said, no, we want control of Uncharted again. I also think that tonally they need to do something that is not as serious going forward. The Last of Us is so ultra serious, and Intergalactic looks like another one that's probably going to be pretty serious, honestly. Given the themes that we've heard about with it, like it's dealing with like religion and stuff in space. Uncharted is like the right balance of like just fucking goofy 90s action movie shit. And there's actually like real danger to the characters.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Uncharted. I would take a Lost Legacy style Uncharted like every 2 years and be perfectly happy.
I do think it will follow Nate and Elena's daughter, though.
Yeah, no, I think Cassie Drake is clearly the.
I think Cassie Drake. I would love to see Sam be the new Sully for her.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that based on
Lost Legacy.
Yeah.
Lost Legacy. What a good game,
dude. That's what
a good game.
That's my second favorite Uncharted behind 2.
I love it so much.
It's so good.
It's my third behind 2 and 4. But that's like comparing, I don't know, like my favorite flavor of ice cream or something. Like, damn, they're just so good. Like my top 3 are all so good.
Yeah. But I clearly think Cassie Drake is going to be the next protagonist of Uncharted wherever they go.
And it's a way to keep Nate, Elena, Sam, and Sully in the story as well.
Yeah,
but without them being the focus, which I think would be really important. Like her just like FaceTiming with them would be really cool.
Maybe should be playing a Vita.
I would love. So I want to address what Jiggly Panda says here. I personally would love a new Jak and Daxter. I adore Jak and Daxter. I personally think Jak and Daxter is far superior to Ratchet and Clank, and I don't think it's particularly close, personally.
The first Jak game is awesome.
The Cursor Legacy is incredible.
Yeah.
But Jak 2 is one of the all-time greatest platforming sequels in history.
Yeah.
You can say the same about, I think, Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal, too, though. Like,
I mean, you could even throw Sly Cooper in there.
For me, Ratchet and Clank has just gone on for so long
Yeah.
that it started getting diminishing returns from me. Although I
Yeah.
did really like the revival on the PS4 and then the PS5 game. I think what's it
A
called?
rift of
Rift
a
in
rift
Time.
a rift apart.
Rift Apart, I think, is good.
Hmm.
After playing Astrobot, I'm good with Ratchet and Clank never coming back. The only people I would trust at Sony to do a new Jack and Daxter at this point, I would not want Naughty Dog doing it. I'm going to be
Hmm.
really honest with you.
I mean, all those people have left, and
All
it was
those people have left or retired at this point. I truly would love to see Team Asobi take it on.
Mhm.
I want Team Asobi to do something other than Astrobot.
Yeah.
But they have so much pedigree after winning basically every Game of the Year award last year
Hmm.
that Balatro didn't win,
Right.
that they can kind of do whatever they want to. I would love to see a new. I think Sly Cooper is the franchise that probably has the most potential for a new platforming story, but Jack and Daxter is the one I'm most nostalgic for.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I would
I
really
mean,
love a new Jack.
yeah. I would like it in the style of Jack 1, though. 2 and 3 were like fine. But that's when every game was trying to be GTA after, right? I mean,
I love Jack 2 and 3.
um,
I love them so
they
much.
they did try to go back. It wasn't Naughty Dog developed, but what was it, The Last Frontier or whatever, that fourth game that nobody
Yeah,
played?
they did Last Frontier and Lost Frontier and then the Daxter spin-off.
Which was Ready at Dawn.
Yeah, remember Jack X Combat Racing?
Yeah, that's why we need
Dude,
Uncarded in the Fast of Us.
we basically got a Jack and Daxter every single year for 5 years.
Hmm.
Because the first Jack came out in December 2021, and then they skipped 22. In 23, you get Jack 2, 24, or 2004, you get Jack 3. 2005, you get Combat Racing. 2006, Daxter, and then skip a couple years and you have Lost Frontier. The ports that they have done of them have been just horrendous. They have been terrible, which is really frustrating to me. I love this franchise so much.
Yeah, that version they put out on PS4 was not very good.
No, it was actually terrible.
Yeah.
um would would just really really like to see it. But as far as I know, they have not talked about anything. They once so Evan Wells talked about it once and said that they talked about making one before ultimately making The Last of Us. Neil Druckmann has shown off illustrations for the abandoned game before and said they planned on rebooting the series and had spent a long time exploring various concepts. Really, really glad they didn't go down that route. They just have kind of never gone back to it. There was rumors about a movie from Ruben Fleischer that never panned out. So
Yeah.
I think that one of the things we have to start being more okay with as fans is just because we really like a franchise doesn't mean we need to continue getting games in it. I think God of War really made people start seeing revivals in a different way, both for good and bad. They think that everything can be revived, but think everything should be God of War quality. And the reality is, God of War almost didn't get made. Cory Barlog fought tooth and nail to get that game made.
Hmm.
And damn near didn't. Sony was ready to abandon God of War. They didn't think there was anything left. And that's one of the very few reboots, continuations, etc. within the same universe that actually works. So I think Resident Evil 7 is another great example.
Yeah.
Like a reboot, reimagining of the series in a lot of ways. Like I'm at the point also where like if God of War never came back at this point, I'd be perfectly fine. I think 2018 is one of the greatest games ever made, and Ragnarok was a very worthy follow up. I'd be totally fine if we never went back to Kratos. Because how many games can say, yeah, 5 of our 6 games in our series, 5 of the 6 main entries are must plays. Very, very, very few. Outside of like Mario and Zelda, there's not a lot.
Hmm.
So I think at a certain point you have to be willing to say, all right, we're good. we're good. We're willing to let something rest for a little bit, which is a concept that a certain other publisher, Microsoft, need to start understanding about some of their properties. That sometimes it's okay to let something rest for a while. I think we've reached that point with Halo. We're damn near getting there with Gears. Fable is a great example. Fable kind of just has been there for like 12, 13 years without a new installment. I really hope this new one is good.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we got, for a lot of fans, the last time we got a good Fable game was Fable 2. A lot of fans don't like Fable 3. I think Fable 3 was fine. Obviously not as good as the first two. We'll see more on that here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, 2's definitely the best of that trilogy.
2, 100%. 100%. Two is just these. That's exactly how you want to do it, is with 2. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
I am too. I'm really hoping we see gameplay here in a couple of days. All right. We have. I was going to throw a question at you, and I completely forgot what I was going to say. Unfortunately. Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. Well, we're going to talk about this a little bit more next week. Windows Central came up with a story this evening about the handheld Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox's handheld has been sidelined for now as Microsoft doubles down on Windows 11 PC gaming handheld optimization. That screams to me that they know that Windows 11 handheld is not in a good place yet.
Yeah.
Also, I think they're really waiting to see, one, how the Switch 2 performs, and it, like, performance-wise. Not sales, but like actual, hey, can it really like legit run things well like Cyberpunk, and see what the third-party support is going to be like. Also, they're going to 100% wait for a Steam Deck 2. They want when Steam Deck 2 comes out is exactly when I would expect to hear about this for real.
Yeah.
Within like a week or two. There is that Xbox branded ROG Ally, Project Kennen, that is scheduled for this year. I only bring this up because I'm still longing for a portable Destiny solution. I really hope that this can be it. Yeah. I'm not playing this thing on the Switch 2 if it comes there.
No, see, my theory is if Destiny comes to Switch 2, it's going to be the mobile game.
So that's that. See, now that's an interesting proposition because it is going into closed beta as of today.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even bother trying to see if I could get a beta. I was able to play so little of the alpha last year that I just didn't even. God, the next couple of weeks are about to be so busy that I didn't bother. I do hope Destiny Rising is good. We are long overdue for good mobile games that you cannot necessarily play on a console, but they've got to be less predatory in terms of monetization. That was one of the big things when I was finishing Jason Schreier's book, Play Nice, about the history of Blizzard. And there's basically a whole chapter on the catastrophe of the reveal of Diablo Immortal. And it's not that the product was necessarily bad. It's that it was a mobile title when people wanted Diablo 4 more than anything. It was the quip from one of the longtime Diablo franchise directors about, do you guys not have phones? That he basically made an exasperation. And the insanely predatory microtransactions from NetEase all kind of combined just to make this a shit show. We're kind of going to be teetering on that with Destiny Rising, I think. Mm-hmm. Although I do like one of the things they've announced for the beta for this game, if I'm remembering correctly, if you make any purchase in the beta, they will refund you plus give you 25%.
Jeez.
So that you're basically, like, if you buy the microtransactions, you're essentially going to make money back for the real game. Like, they'll compensate you for the price of what you paid for stuff in the beta in the real launch game plus 25%.
Jeez.
So I think that's actually a great thing for Silver. Like, that's actually pretty interesting. I've never seen a company be that aggressive with it.
Yeah.
And to me, that screams they know they need some positive press. I think Bungie was just like, fuck it, do it. It'll come out of our end.
Yeah.
So let's see how that goes. Very interested. But between that and we've got Persona 5 X coming to the West finally after 2 years, another gacha game. But interested to see if these games, coupled with the success of things like Pokemon Trading Card Pocket, which needs way more features to be viable in this space, I think. And then you see the news about Apple buying their first developer. I think we start wondering what the future of mobile development can look like. We talked about it last week on Xbox Casuals. An Xbox mobile store was supposed to come out last year, didn't. It's been delayed, and it just seems like it's going to keep getting punted for a while. I don't think they want that coming out until they're closer to getting their own handheld to market to tease synergy. But I do wonder if the news this week about Apple... I can't believe that we have to actually say this, but Apple bought a developer. It's a 2-man development team, so really scared for them. But also that they're planning to put a specific app structurally tailored for AAA gaming on every Apple device.
Yeah, that was announced
June 8th.
Yeah, that was announced at their conference last year. I don't know if you watched it or not, but Hideo Kojima was there.
I did. I've been making jokes about Kojima all week for it. Yeah. Get Kojima on your stage one time and you just let it go to your head and start. The direct quote was, they are trying to prove to AAA developers that they are a leader in the market. I don't know a goddamn soul who plays games on Mac.
Look, I've been using Apple products for 20 years at this point.
Yeah,
I've never played a video game. I mean, I've played some, but
you know what I fucking played on a Mac? Mavis Beacon. Okay, that's what I played.
I mean, yeah. Look, man, I bought Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic because I heard it was finally available on the App Store, so I bought it, and it's terrible. So,
I want to say this: like, Apple says that they want to be a leader in the space. That's great. They are a leader in mobile, though. They're not a leader where they want to be a leader, is the thing.
Yeah, they're also building their own version of Proton, which is the Steam equivalent, right? Or the Linux equivalent.
I'm very interested to see what... So them buying a 2-person team, I do think that starts a snowball effect. I'm a little concerned for some of my favorite indie devs right now. Because on one hand, it's like, well, nobody wants to sell it to Apple, but goddamn, if Apple's going to back up the truck, I would take the money.
Yeah. Well, didn't Netflix just close the studio and then they turned around and hired someone?
Netflix closed their original studio they were building that Joe Staten was supposed to be in charge of. And then one of the teams that they own, which is the studio that made Oxenfree, Night School, turned around and hired the director of Avowed. That's not a small hire. Carrie Patel is not a small hire.
Right. Like,
that's Josh Sawyer's apprentice, essentially.
That seems very...
That's his number 2.
Yeah, that seems very, very mixed messaging from them.
Yeah, not super jazzed about that one either. So I'm waiting to see if this is going to like fizzle like Netflix trying to get into gaming has. I think Apple does have a foothold though with Apple Arcade. They had Apple Arcade launched with some really good games, like Sayonara Wild Hearts was one of them. I think Balatro has come to Apple Arcade, but man, Pathless was part of it at one point. It might still be. Wilder Frost was part of it. I've enjoyed playing that on both my phone and on Game Pass.
That Ninja Turtles game they put on there was pretty good.
But I think things like Destiny Rising can be what Apple can point to being on their platform, being like, hey, look, this is here, and Fortnite coming back to the App Store, obviously monumental story, maybe the biggest gaming story of the month other than GTA getting delayed, right? So I think that Apple kind of sees that if they don't make a move now, they're kind of fucked in terms of trying to break into this industry. My concern is if Apple does go out and buy, I'm not so much worried about the studios. I'm worried about how the creative teams will be treated, but also Apple does not market their creative stuff. Their shows and movies, like their movies are pretty much bad across the board. They are putting out some of the most consistently great television right now, though.
Yeah.
And if it's not called Ted Lasso, they're not promoting it.
I've seen some promotion for it, but I don't know if it's just
not to the level of things like HBO though, or Disney Plus, like your direct competitors.
Yeah.
I see ads for Andor everywhere. I saw stuff for Daredevil everywhere. And I think it helps that those are familiar franchises, but HBO, I see marketing blitzes for every HBO original that comes out.
Yeah.
I see a lot of stuff for FX shows that come out. Like The Bear is everywhere. Even in its first season, it was everywhere. They saw that they had a hit on their hands after one episode, and bam, we're going to put it everywhere.
Yeah. That
Apple has the best show of the year in Severance, and nay a peep. White Lotus is getting more screen time than anything out of Apple other than Ted Lasso, and that's just White Lotus is very good. Don't get me wrong; it's very, very good. But Severance, Shrinking,
Shrinking's awesome.
Silo, like
the studio is pretty good.
The studio is fantastic. I really like the studio. Slow Horses is outstanding. Just you got to be better with marketing if you're going to be Apple and you want to be in gaming. Like you can't half-ass it in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Look how much we've dunked on Microsoft for not promoting smaller games in the past, right?
I mean, look at Google. Look what happened to Google.
Look what happened to Google. Look at what Amazon has done. Amazon basically cut all their ambitions out except for New World.
I mean,
so, sure. Apple's the latest tech giant to think they can get into this, and it's less of, everybody's trying to be like Microsoft, and more of like Microsoft was the massive exception to the rule and did this 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the first Xbox, everybody thought was going to be a flop. Halo really is we've said it multiple times, Halo and Bungie are the reason why Xbox exists.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why Microsoft never wants to let go of Halo. They never want to stop making those. But there was a Bungie dev who said it. One of the devs on Marathon, Colin McGregor, said this the other day on Twitter. Said, if Halo 3 and its multiplayer dropped today in this landscape, if it hadn't come out in 2007 and it dropped now, would fans be going as crazy for that multiplayer as they did back then? And he says, I don't think that they would. And that seemed to be the consensus from people replying to it and quote tweeting it that I was seeing, because I got to agree. I think the competitive landscape changed forever in the years after Halo 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think Reach was kind of the last time. And then when Halo 4 was such a dramatic departure from 2, 3, and Reach, that was kind of the nail in the coffin for like Halo as a multiplayer game.
Plus,
HDS is still a great watch, but it's not what it's not what the competitive scene was, and there's so many more options now too, right?
Right, like the rise of Call of Duty, also, right? Like when
Call of Duty and came out, both,
yeah, like that was
2010s was rough.
That was a huge shift.
Mm-hmm. It was a huge shift, and then you shifted out of that. Even though those games, Call of Duty is still very dominant. The rise of free to play. Yeah. So, I think that making Infinite's multiplayer free to play was a great idea, but the fact that you just did not have support lined up, ready to go, I don't think that 343 with its legacy leadership was prepared for that. Mm-mm. You have to have so much more support for a multiplayer game. Look how much we dragged Destiny over the years for not having multiplayer maps.
Right.
Deservedly so for not having maps, not having modes, things like that, not pushing progression in multiplayer. And it's too little too late now when you do that stuff. You needed to have this 8 years ago.
Right.
So, before we get out of here, though, I want to take a trip to the lore corner, because we had a specific request from Titan to talk about Aetion. That's how I'm going to choose to pronounce this. I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to choose to pronounce it. It is a new piece of lore from the Anamorphosis lore book. I also don't think that's how you pronounce it, but I'm choosing to pronounce it that way.
I thought you were saying that Bungie was making an Animorphs game.
That would be that would surprise me. I still don't know if that would be the most surprising thing that I've heard. So I'm gonna read this, and then I want to go to an explanation from Destiny Lore, from the Destiny Lore subreddit on this, because I have not had a lot of time to read this book. I've glanced over some of it. I know there's been some videos out. We do not have the full book available yet, and we do not have all the cutscenes that accompany these lore pieces out yet. So, that being said, we will do this one today, and then I want to circle back around. We should have all the cutscenes and all the lore pieces by the next time we do an episode. We should have all that by early June. The second week of Prophecy, we should have everything.
Yes.
So, once upon a time, there was life. They were not so vast as we, yet they lived. An existence far less debatable than equal than that of quavering atoms. Consider this, our cognitum, Theia. You've heard this name before. the memory dissipates on solar wind. Day by day, the caromed Galilee through this cosmological stream, unbound by stellar gravity, equaled, cage by pitiable minds. Each thought, the Herculean effort of a millennium, see now the vast span of its life. Sothea lived until misfortune led it here, caught by my gravity. Mutual attraction equals utter annihilation. Those microscopic specks, ants crawling in eaten, rotten eye sockets. Helpless equals stupid equals blind. But for Thea, a scream lasting 1,000 years, a struggle against 1,000 clinging tendrils, until at last, equaled, fated meeting, equaled with dearest 3. Or ill. I don't know how you pronounce it. I think it's ill. Agony, shearing, crashing, tearing, part of myself, my thoughts, my life, torn away, floating brain dead in my sky. Thea's foolish parasite, components unaware to the last. That great stone, hewn form, that eon-enduring mind, gone in one red meat plump of sticky, noxious fluid. Each life snuff equals a thought scattered, equals awareness chipped away. A mere moment in your limited perception, but for one of us, a dying cry stretching forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. The curse of our existence. Past is present is future. Pain never to fade into memory. Can you imagine? No need to imagine when it can feel. You stretch like taffy. Look, see, Nasya. You know the dough is ready when you cannot read a label through it. You watch the galaxy pinwheel through the window pane of your mind. You watch your doom approach for 400 years in the span of a moment. You claw at neon bars. Nascent awareness, oscillating, oozing, equals, it won't calm down. I told you this story was a bad idea. Now, just what have you bunch done to it this time? This is a fucking wild piece of lore. This is why I wanted to pull up an explanation that somebody has been writing of each of these as they come out on Destiny lore. And I really, really, really like this. I'm a big fan here. So, Aetion. Starting with the origin of Aetion, which means an origin story or myth in ancient Greek. Not nearly as much discussion into the meaning, but it's pretty clear. Aetion follows every member of the Nine, talking about the story of Thea. In Greek mythos, they act as the Titan goddess of insight and divine light, but more accurately to the lore, it refers to a hypothetical planet that impacted Earth very early in its development, and it is a large part, a contributor of Luna's development. So this is, obviously we just said that this is a moon creation myth that they're pulling from. And this is part of what Titan was getting at when they asked us to read this, was the continuing crossover of real life science with myth and fiction that we have seen in the lead up to the final, the Edge of Fate, not the final shape, the Edge of Fate. We saw this with the ARG and we're seeing it now. A couple notes here. The Nine recount a planet that seems to be very much another entity similar to the Nine, a mass of dark matter bound to a celestial body and its life forms. They describe the crashing of Thea and their voice as it impacted Earth, which brings us to a second point. We've possibly got the first direct title for a member of the Nine being essentially Thea. So another note is the Nine call Orin by their original name Nasya, the name they had before they were risen by the light. In terms of meaning, Nasya can refer to either a diminutive of the Russian name Afansya, or a variation of Nasya, both of which mean something along the lines of eternal, immortal, and resurrection. The other approach to Nasya is through Hebrew, where it can be a variant of Nasya/Nasi, which can mean child of Yahweh, a name for God in the book of Exodus, or a direct reference to a minor deity and polytheistic Israeli text. Not much importance on the name, but it could be used to differentiate Orion from the Nine and set their ultimate conflict, considering the religious history between the ancient Greeks and ancient Israel. This whole book is very steeped in Greek myths and Greek names. Theogonia, Thermokakia, Makone, Kresmoi, Castarissimos. There's some great stuff. The essential thing that the author of this comes down to essentially says that this book essentially follows the story of the emissary as they break free from the control of the Nine and become Orin again, which is what we see in the cinematic trailer for Edge of Fate. Narrated in the voice of all 9 members of the Nine, Orin herself, and a mysterious entity that acts as a narrator of Orin's journey from being reshaped through the Nine to freeing themselves. The 9 are probably best predicted using ancient Greek references, and the 9 are not the only dark matter form consciousness in the universe. Seemingly every system with some form of biological life has a form of the 9, though their power is based off of a degree of intellectual thought. I would not take any of this as actual concrete evidence yet. Okay, this book is extremely hard to follow. Who the fuck is talking? Okay, this is genuinely very difficult. Like, I was trying to read it in the different tones that it was doing, but this book is just absolutely batshit. This is one of the instances where I would say we need all 6 pieces to come out, but also beyond that, we need people who actually remember a lot more of the 9 lore than I do to break some of this down.
Yeah, I also like you said, we need to know who's talking. Have you seen how all this stuff is written out? Like,
yes,
I'm like, oh my gosh, this breaks my brain.
Yeah, this is where Destiny, I think, is its absolute coolest.
Yeah, because everybody, like, you don't know who's talking, but all of the 9 have like a very specific way, like the text is being written out on the screen while they're talking. So like, it definitely differentiates who's talking, but like, it's so hurts my brain.
It's so cool, though. I think that this is awesome. We love when the wacky shit like this happens, but it does make it really hard, I think, for a lot of us to follow what's happening without me going full Milo and getting out whiteboards. I am going to finish reading up on the book and come up with my own theories on this and do some more reading this week. This is just one of the first ones I could find, and I thought that the ancient Greek spin on this was really cool and really important personally. It's also worth noting this was done a few weeks ago before we had all of the information that we have now, I should say. So I'm very interested to see what the implication is going to be of all of this. But overall, I think this is a really cool start to the lore. I do wonder if the unnamed entity is the same one that, oh god, is it the Division sidearm from this season? I'm trying to Google real fast on Ishtar Collective. I'm wondering if this is the mysterious entity that's also talking in the Division sidearm. That seems to be the new master of the take, and this is also the way that this is split. The way that the dialogue is written out in the Division makes me think that this is also, like, obviously conversation of the 9 between some of them, because it's written out the exact same way. I do wonder if one of these is the voice that is narrating what is happening with Orin.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a lot going on. We have had requests to talk about the Division sidearm. Again, this is another one that I really need to read more, but I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna leave us with this week, so everybody can kind of think about it, and we'll come back in 2 weeks and hopefully be able to talk a little bit more about the 9 and about what the hell is going on in these cutscenes. I also need to, like, go watch these cutscenes again because I've been really tired when I've watched like 3 of them. Mm-hmm. So, and they're very quick. I feel like I need to go back and be able to, like, pause and take notes as I'm looking at them.
Yeah.
So the Division sidearm reads, an enneagram tips, poised to shatter. Our children live, the threat of soul defeated. We remain, we remain. A foolish thought, a threat defeated is our opportunity wasted. We remain bound. Such cruel exaggeration. Can we not engage in elegant conversation as we used to? How can we be prisoners when we need sapience to ensure our survival? Do we not exist in response to their being? The final shape thwarted by the light creatures, the necessary idiocy of the witness, non-viable means of escape. childish viewpoint, sourness amplified by arrogance, our fate, plain as gravity, accept its pull or fall regardless. Your side is complacent, worthless futility. We must look beyond the chains of matter. Reality is malleable, if only we wish it so. Bright strength lies in the bonds of us, bonds of matter, bonds of love. Your solution falls short. All tethers iron. Inverted enemies equals outscorn friends. Our divide ever wider, 9 foes in solid it's very hard to read this part. I'm sorry. All this is mashed together. Our divide ever wider, 9 foes, insolent denial. I mourn unity, grieve coalition, follow your foolishness, but if all you find is oblivion and the peril of our children, we all perish. I'm wondering, so when I read these, there's a couple that are in all caps. There's 2 that are just mashed together for one. I'm wondering if one of those, when there's the ones that are all mashed, those feel like a unique entity and could be setting the stage for one of the 9 to be a villain going forward, I think.
Yeah.
Especially because it talks about insolent denial, and it talks about the final shape thwarted by the light creatures and the necessary idiocy of the witness. Basically, we needed the witness to be as fucking stupid as he was in order for us to escape.
Mm-hmm.
Something had happened that they weren't. So it makes me wonder if that's tied to it, perhaps. When I go back and look at the Aeon book, when you have the all caps, that feels like the one that's the one that's narrating. And when I look back at that, what's in all caps in Aeon says, once upon a time there was a life. Day by day they caromed Galilee through the cosmological stream. Each thought the Herculean effort of a millennium, see now the vast span of its life. But for Thea, a scream lasting 1,000 years, a struggle against 1,000 clinging tendrils. That great stone, hewn form, that eon, enduring mind, gone in one red meat plump of sticky, noxious fluid. And then if we read this one with the all caps, a foolish thought, a threat defeated, is our opportunity wasted, we remain bound. I mourn unity, grieve coalition, follow your foolishness, but if all you find is oblivion and the peril of our children, we all perish. This, to me, feels like somebody who was trying to tell a cautionary tale and maybe be an ally of light wielders. Kind of realizing that, like, yeah, we had a chance to escape and we didn't take it, essentially. Now we're kind of fucked. I take the end of this to mean that maybe they don't want an alliance, but they know that they need us somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they say the peril of our children, we all perish, it kind of seems like they know, like this entity specifically knows they have to support the Guardians. Because they don't necessarily want to, but they kind of have to.
Right.
So I want to read this a little bit more. I want to find exactly what 9 entities are talking in which and try and group them together as much as I can. Because even in this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 or 8 of the 9 talking in this one, I believe, just judging by the way it's written out. So, yeah, we said, we were gonna have to do some 9 lore leading up to Edge of Fate, and it's clearer than ever we're gonna have to. This is one of the most thought-provoking ones for me going into the new expansion, because it's one of the first pieces where we actually saw the 9 talking.
Yeah.
And I think that paired with the new Rite of the 9 lore book is also interesting, because I want to know, like, exactly, like, so we know Orin is there testing us, but is she the only one of the 9 that's testing us, or is there someone else behind it? I suspect there's someone else behind, because we know that when we get summoned for Edge of Fate, we're there because of a cosmological instance in time.
Right.
Us. Ikora's there. What's his face with the glasses is there.
Lodi.
Lodi. That's his name. I keep forgetting. Lodi is there. So it's going to be great. I know this probably isn't the explanation Titan was looking for, but I think it was really important we did both of these. I'm going to read the others. We're going to have the cutscenes. We're going to have the other lore books available to us by the time that we have another episode. It's going to be really lore heavy, I think, next time. Yeah. I think it's going to have to be. We got to get through this before Edge of Fate releases. So, and I'm still curious to know if there's going to be an end of season event or not. I still feel like there's something coming.
Yeah.
Even if they haven't explicitly said it and nothing's been data mined, I feel like something is coming.
Yeah, I feel like something.
I just can't prove it because I'm nuts.
Yeah, I feel like it's coming.
But Corey, with all that, why don't you get us on out of here?
Yeah, I suppose we could skedaddle, huh? I want to thank everybody out there for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. You can catch us on Fridays on your favorite podcast service of choice. You can follow us on socials, all that stuff. Join the Discord. The link should be fixed for the people who have been asking. So, Josh, thank you for your time as well.
Always.
You are much appreciated. And everybody out there, you are appreciated. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.